So it's very complicated. Let me give you the high-level perspective, and then if you want to dig into it afterwards, I'm happy to talk about it further on the sidelines. So we have a policy discussion now about how to build more things in America. This is a good thing in my view. We should build more cars and trucks in America. We should build more cutting-edge technologies that go into those cars and trucks in America. And so that's the ambition of the Trump administration with regard to the tariffs. We share that ambition. We want to build more cars and trucks here in America. And we want to build more cutting-edge components that go into those cars and trucks in America. Why? It's good for our economy. It's good for workers. It's good for customers. It's good for our national security. Here's the challenge. This is a massive industry, incredibly complex, millions of square feet under roof in these plants. If you've never been to a plant, it's one of the largest buildings you will ever walk into. Billions of dollars of machinery and equipment. You cannot move this overnight. And you can't move the supply chains overnight. It takes a long time. So in the case of, for example, vehicles and parts that are built in Mexico and Canada, they're built in Mexico and Canada to support US manufacturing because for the last 26 and a half years, we've had a policy of duty-free trade among those three countries. So if you change that to encourage more production here in the United States, you've got to give some time. And so what's likely going to happen is that prices are going to go up and sales are likely to go down during an adjustment period before manufacturing comes to the United States. And so we're trying to navigate that, but the short answer is these are very, very high tariffs in the automotive sector. We're talking about a 25% tariff on a vehicle imported from the United States. And so that's a high level in an industry with the high asset base it has, and frankly the low margins that it has relative to other businesses. And so it's the key is time for adjustment and flexibility to allow manufacturers to make those adjustments. But that's so it's a challenging period of time. Last thing I'd say is, Elizabeth alluded to, like, what's the latest? There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think there'll be negotiations, there'll be discussions. I think the policymakers that are advising the president are trying to sort through these complexities in these negotiations. And so there is, we're going to need a little bit more clarity and a little bit more of a sense of where this is all going. And then I think we'll be able to talk about what the true both impacts and opportunities will be, for the sector here in the United States.
Yeah, and John, one could argue vehicle tariffs, new information coming out every day. But that first box, the $7,500 EV tax incentive, those rules were announced a couple of years ago. So one could argue that the EVs are at a bit of an advantage because automakers started to plan to bring some EV operations into the country, bring battery plants so that they could realize that $7,500 tax incentive. So it's interesting to see how those the timing of it all works out.
Yeah, can I just what Elizabeth's talking about is some of those tax credits, in order to qualify for them, require certain levels of domestic content from the components and the minerals that go into the vehicles, and also that the vehicles be built in somewhere in North America. So your point is well taken in that the credits anticipate a certain amount of content and a certain amount of build in the United States. Yeah.
So, Mike, we just heard very likely prices are going to go up across the board. We've already talked about the $7,500 tax incentive that's here today, still here today, especially on a lease and if you meet the criteria. Electric vehicles also offer operating cost savings. So as we enter this market where prices are going up, how do you see the dealers being able to, number one, navigate all this, but then communicate any advantage that they might have?
Well, dealers in very nature, they're entrepreneurs, they're very optimistic. Everyone I've talked to is excited about what's happening now. What do we know now? We know that there are 3 million vehicles out there on dealer lots across the country that are tariff-free. So the deal had been known. We saw an incredible, at the threat of tariffs, we saw an incredible March, and we're seeing that spill into April. So again, my message is to consumers is certainly to take advantage of the known, which is buy now. Because I agree with what John said. I do think that costs could potentially be going up in the future. All this is a bit of speculation. It's going to be choppy. And what John said about a plan, I get back to common sense. You cannot flip a switch, pull a plug. You've got to have a plan. And of course, the NADA supports what the Trump administration is trying to accomplish, which is bringing more jobs back to this country. But again, my advice, I can't say it enough, deal with the known. Buy now. And we do think that this tax credit, as I mentioned, is on very shaky ground, so it's a great time to buy an EV. Our manufacturers, over 60 products, they're best in class. I mean, it's a good time to be in the market. And the dealers that, and I talked to a lot of them, so does Laura, they're very optimistic about the opportunity that's in front of them today.
I'm going to quote John, but I'm going to give Laura the final words. John said, you just can't get ahead of the consumer, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I think we talked a lot about the barriers today. Laura, what are your final words?
Thanks, Elizabeth. I would say to echo what Mike said, go buy today. If you're interested, time to buy is now. I know the New Jersey dealers have anywhere from 30 to 90 days of inventory on their lots, so there are options here. And I would also say, this is all should be market driven. I think that we need to inject some reality into these conversations and into these policies. And it should all be about affordability, choice, and a market driven approach. So I hope that we can have some common sense in these states that are going to be suffering very soon if they stay on the trajectory that they're on right now, which no one wants to have happen. And we don't want to lose jobs too, which will be a very real possibility for the dealerships across the state of New Jersey and in all these CARB states.
So thank you. Please enjoy the show, and we can pull up, I know, any of these slides. I know somebody wanted to take a quick photo. If you wanted to take a photo, and we'll be around for questions. Thank you.